Now at 5, a final push in New Hampshire. The candidates sweeping the state, fighting for votes.
Senator Bernie Sanders sending a message, and he's still on top of our exclusive 7 News Emerson College, New Hampshire tracking poll.
Former Mayor Pete Buttigieg getting some added support.
Senator Amy Klobuchar surging to 3rd.
And Republicans are rallying around President Trump. A huge rally set for tonight.
From the top candidates to the latest numbers.
The news station is live in New Hampshire with every angle covered.
And that's not all. It's official. The Red Sox finalizing the deal to send Mookie Betts and David Price out west.
Clouds overnight tonight, another batch of showers for tomorrow.
7 News at 5 starts now. Tonight on 7, one more day. All eyes on New Hampshire.
We cannot continue having a president who is a pathological liar.
We cannot risk alienating Americans at this critical moment.
If you are tired of the extremes in our politics and the noise and the nonsense, you have a home with me.
The candidates making their primary push.
Welcome, everyone. It is the eve of the New Hampshire presidential primary. After many months, weeks, and days of campaigning and setting the focus on this state, it all comes down to this. In fact, the first votes of the New Hampshire primary are set to be cast at midnight in little bitty Dixville Notch.
They usually have 9 voters. This year they have 5. But these 5 ballots get international attention. New Hampshire is the center of everything right now. The political world is watching what is happening here.
As far as the candidates, of course, they are out as we speak, making their final pushes to get their final bit of support. Dozens of events held across New Hampshire. The finish line is in sight, and there's a lot on the line here. Let's check the numbers from our exclusive 7 News Emerson College, New Hampshire tracking poll at 5 o'clock. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders is still on top at 30%. That is unchanged from last night. Former South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg is now at 23%, and we are seeing more momentum for Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar, now at 14%. That's up 1 point. Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren is down a point today, sitting at 11%, and former Vice President Joe Biden also down 1 point at 10%.
Republicans are also rallying in New Hampshire today. Vice President Mike Pence in the state with some company. There he was with President Trump's daughter Ivanka joining him on the campaign trail all day long. They are still busy working now as the president is set to hold a big rally at Southern New Hampshire University tonight. In fact, supporters coming out overnight to get a spot, to get a chance to see the president. And we have watched, and this crowd is steadily growing all day long, people wanting to hear from President Trump. Big base here.
Right. They started last night, even in some wind and some rain. The president, as we've been showing you, is on his way up here to Manchester. He boarded Air Force One not long ago down in the D.C. metro area. So he is on his way up for that rally at SNHU tonight.
The news station has all the major candidates and angles covered. Our team of reporters is on the move, tracking all the campaigns for you. Let's get started right now with 7's Jonathan Hall. He's covering Senator Bernie Sanders and is live in Durham right now. John.
Hi, Kim. Good evening. One last big rally for Bernie Sanders tonight. He promises it will be his biggest yet, complete with a rock band, and then all of the handshaking and the speech making will be over. It'll be time for the people of New Hampshire to decide who wins.
We are prepared with your help to take on the greed of Wall Street, the insurance companies, the drug companies.
At several campaign stops today, including this one at Franklin Pierce University, Senator Bernie Sanders promised to fight for a $15 minimum wage, for Medicare for all, for free tuition at state colleges and universities, and against the political and economic establishment. Do you have any concerns that he's too far left and won't be able to beat Trump nationwide?
I do worry about that. I worry about his label of being a democratic socialist.
Many of Senator Sanders' supporters are young and idealistic. They say Bernie's message that big money has corrupted America is just what America needs to hear to win back the White House.
We had a centrist Our experiment was Hillary Clinton. It did not work out. Centrism is not going to work out anymore. Trump is a populist. Bernie's a populist. We need a populist.
Still, some can't quite imagine moderate Democrats and independents putting a man who describes himself as a socialist in the Oval Office.
I hope it doesn't scare them off, but it might. And I know Trump is going to use it like a battering ram.
And of course, as we've seen, President Trump on his way to New Hampshire tonight, to the belly of the beast, where all the Democrats are rallying, trying to get him out of the White House. Sanders set to give one more speech tonight. Then he hopes there'll be a victory speech tomorrow night. We're live in Durham, New Hampshire. Jonathan Hall, 7 News.
The bells going here, tolling here in St. Elmsome as we continue to watch the candidates on the campaign trail. We found former South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg with some tough talk at Plymouth State University earlier today. Of course, he did well in Iowa. He's been doing very well in our exclusive poll. And so what happens? You end up playing defense. The other opponents start coming after you. And that's what we're seeing happening to the Buttigieg campaign.
It sure is. And the former mayor is responding, saying he's willing to put up a fight for this nomination. Let's go to Nathalie Pozo. She's been with the Buttigieg camp since they arrived here. And so what's the latest feeling from there today as we get ever so close, Nathalie?
Yeah, Adam, Kim, for Pete Buttigieg, this is a two-man race. He knows it's going to be a tight one between him and Bernie Sanders. I spoke to him earlier today after that event in Plymouth, and he tells me he believes tomorrow will be a big day for his campaign.
What are you expecting tomorrow, and not only for you personally, but for your campaign as well?
Well, I believe tomorrow will be a big day for this campaign because this is the process of actually proving that we've put together an organization that can go out and win actual elections. For the last year, candidates have been talking about their ability to win. Now's the chance to show versus tell, and I think tomorrow's a huge part of that.
Pete Buttigieg is in the top 2 of our exclusive 7 News Emerson College, New Hampshire tracking poll, but still behind a steady Senator Bernie Sanders. But Buttigieg has seen a lot of success in New Hampshire.
And we do see just an amazing level of momentum. I know that we are competing against a almost home state, neighboring state senator, but I also feel a wind at our back and just enormous energy among our volunteers and more voters.
With just one day to the primary, we were able to get some lighter questions in about the candidate's near-spitting image of Boston Celtics head coach Brad Stevens. Here they are dressed as each other on Halloween.
I know, I'm still waiting to have that flattering mix-up happen, but at least it's happening in pictures. I think there's a little bit of a height difference between me and him, but you know, he's certainly somebody I admired. He coached in Indiana at Butler before coming on to the Celtics, and always flattered to be compared to him in any way.
So the event's wrapping up here ahead of tomorrow's primary. Pete Buttigieg has one in Milford happening in about an hour or so, and then his final one here in Exeter later on tonight. We are live in Exeter, New Hampshire. Nathalie Pozo, 7 News.
Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar really making some waves here in New Hampshire, seeing some increases in her numbers as we look at our exclusive 7 News Emerson College New Hampshire tracking poll.
A few days ago, her husband was out on the campaign trail working hard for her, trying to drum up more support, and today she had more family support. 7's Kimberly Bookman is with the Klobuchar campaign, and Kimberly joins us now in Exeter with more. Kimberly.
Kim, when the senator was unable to campaign in Iowa because of the impeachment, her daughter stepped in. Well, her daughter is here in New Hampshire now, and the campaign is hoping she will deliver young voters.
I'm here at the Rotary. I don't know if it's appropriate to ask for your vote, but I will. It's 2 days before the primary.
Senator Amy Klobuchar is making the rounds today, doing her best to convince voters to choose her when they head to the polls tomorrow. And she brought in backup from someone who knows her best, her daughter, 24-year-old Abigail Bessler.
I don't know anyone else in my life who I know to work as hard as she does, to be as energetic and tireless, and to really devote herself to helping people. That's how she's been my entire life.
Bessler was by her mother's side on that snowy day when she announced her plan to run for president.
I was just so proud of my mom on that day, and it was actually a true blizzard. I actually got probably a foot of snow on my hat, and when I went up to hug her afterward, I actually gave her a hug, and my hat just gave her a full face of snow.
The senator has come a long way since that day in February, telling us that campaigning just yesterday.
Really excited about that Channel 7 poll because it puts us in third place.
In the next day, Bessler will campaign for her mom, telling 7 News she hopes to help get young people on board.
I think young people are portrayed as gullible about some of those things, or idealistic, but I think we want action, and I think she will be able to do that.
And coming up tonight at 6, hear from the senator's daughter about their shared sense of humor. Reporting live from Exeter, Kimberly Bookman, 7 News.
So this is the first in the nation primary. It is always a big one in New Hampshire, and that's why we see so much of these candidates. They have spent the better half of last week, several days here, trying to get support from Granite State voters.
And the numbers might react sort of like a Powerball. They kind of pop up and they change all the time. But that's what's been happening here. Some candidates going up, others going down. Let's get the latest from our exclusive 7 News Emerson College, New Hampshire tracking poll with Dan Housley, live with us here in Manchester to lay it out for us. Dan?
Well, Adam and Kim, we have been tracking the ups and downs, but there's been one constant, and that's the candidate who's been on top. And he's been on top since Thanksgiving. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders still leading at 30% in our poll. That's unchanged from last night. Former South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg has turned around after a little bit of a dip. He's at 23%. That's back up 3 percentage points after going down 4 the night before. And more momentum for Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar. She's at 14%. That's up a point on top of a 4-point rise the day before. Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren is at 11%, down a point. And former Vice President Joe Biden is at 10%. He's also down a point. Entrepreneur Andrew Yang is at 4%. That's unchanged. Businessman Tom Steyer is at 2%. That's also unchanged. Hawaii Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard is at 2%, down a point. Former Massachusetts Governor Deval Patrick at 1%, unchanged. And Colorado Senator Michael Bennet is at 1%. That is up a point. Now, looking at our graph, you can see the movement. Sanders, steady Eddie, right there across the top. Buttigieg's climb takes off again. And you can see Amy Klobuchar still rising, while both Warren and Biden drop a bit. Coming up at 5:30, we're going to talk to our pollster for the story behind the numbers and ask him whether this race is now Bernie Sanders to lose. Adam and Kim, back to you.
All right. Thank you, Dan. So let's talk a little about the Republicans, because they're also making an appearance in New Hampshire today. Vice President was here, Ivanka Trump. President Trump supporters braving the elements ahead of a rally that the president will attend tonight. And didn't matter that it's a little chilly up here, didn't matter that there was rain. Those supporters started lining up yesterday for a chance to hear what the president has to say tonight in New Hampshire.
And the president is on his way as we speak from the D.C. area. Let's go to 7's Justin Doherty inside the arena at Southern New Hampshire University with more from the Trump campaign. How's it looking in there, Justin, at the moment?
Well, Adam and Kim, right now it is starting to fill up and fill up quickly. As you mentioned, President Trump's supporters were outside waiting to get inside the arena for several hours, and this is his first rally since he was acquitted in the impeachment trial. You can see outside the lines and the dozens and dozens of supporters lining up outside waiting to get in. Now, we are expected to hear from the president at 7 o'clock, but we spoke to some supporters and got their thoughts on this rally.
This is a historical moment in the United States right now. This is a crucial moment because I feel that we're going to lose our republic. Our constitutional rights are going to continue to be infringed upon if we don't stand up and support Trump, who's for the American people, by the way. And the Democratic Party, their agenda is to destroy the America as it is. So that's why we're willing to sacrifice our day and our time to be out here to support Trump.
President Trump is no stranger to this arena. He came here before the primary in 2016. Then he ended up losing New Hampshire to Hillary Clinton in the general election by just under 3,000 votes. But then he came back in August of 2019 to this very arena and set the attendance record here with 11,500 people. And this morning, he took to Twitter to talk about this rally, tweeting, quote, "We'll be in Manchester, New Hampshire tonight for a big rally. Want to shake up the Dems a little bit. They have a really boring deal going on. Still waiting for the Iowa results. Votes were fried. Big crowds in Manchester." So you can see here, a lot of excitement is building. President Trump, last time he was here, set the attendance record. We'll see how many people fill in here tonight, but it is starting to fill up pretty quickly. He'll be speaking at 7 o'clock. Live in Manchester, New Hampshire, Justin Dory, 7 News.
Obviously, you can hear it's a bit loud in there already. President Trump is getting some backup. Vice President Mike Pence and the president's daughter, Ivanka, making some stops across New Hampshire today. And 7's Juliana Mazza is the only local reporter traveling with them, and she will have more ahead at 5:30.
Other Democrats working to pull in some last-minute support tonight. We've seen a lot of those familiars up at the top of the poll, but some of the other candidates also making appearances here in the Granite State.
Hawaii Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard making some stops and making her campaign known across the Granite State. She skipped the Iowa caucuses, you might recall, to focus on New Hampshire, hoping to gain late momentum in this key early battleground state. Entrepreneur Andrew Yang's campaign brought him to Hopkinton, New Hampshire yesterday. The businessman held a town hall with his supporters. He's holding a few events with voters today.
Former Massachusetts Governor Deval Patrick here today, meeting with survivors of domestic abuse. He also met with voters in Henniker, again, trying to drum up support. We've been on the campaign trail with every top candidate in the dates leading up to this first in the nation primary, and as the candidates make their final push, we will be there with them. Tomorrow night, when the polls close, turn to the news station, we will have our team of reporters spread out across New Hampshire, analyzing all the results in real time. So be sure to catch our expanded special coverage tomorrow night on 7 News. And there is more news today. Back there at home, still ahead, it is a Fenway farewell.
Mookie Betts, David Price officially heading out west. So who will be heading to Boston? We are live at spring training at Fort Myers with all the details.
And we are tracking some rain showers for Tuesday. That, as well as your 7-day forecast in a few minutes.
Ahead at 5:30 tonight, it's a race to the rescue on the Cape. Flames tearing through a home in Bourne.
And then ahead in just 1 hour, commuter concerns. The MBTA once again talking about their plans to shut down stations for sweeping repairs. Special coverage from Manchester and more ahead on 7 News. We'll be right back.